You are listening to Unscripted Moments, a podcast about propaganda. On this episode, I am delighted to welcome Randy Frykas back to the podcast. Randy is a documentarian, musician, and editor who shot the Failed Imagineer and No Longer Young music videos, as well as created the At Peace and Cat Guy lyric videos. Randy has also made a short documentary about the Royal Albert in Winnipeg called Call to Arms, and he also has a fantastic series called Outdoor Hockey Club, which you should check out. I have a variety of links to Randy's work in the show notes of this episode. During this conversation, we discuss Randy's work on 3 music videos he made for At Peace, Cat Guy, and No Longer Young. Please enjoy my conversation with Randy Frykas. Randy Frykas, welcome back to Unscripted Moments, a podcast about propaganda.
Thanks for having me. It's great to be back again. It's been a while.
Long time. Yeah, I think that you were here on episode 46 or something like that.
That's awesome. That's my hockey number.
Holy shit. Like, that's really fortuitous then.
Yeah.
Yes, the Failed Imagineer episode where we talked about your music video that you did for Failed Imagineer off Victory Lap. What have you been up to since episode 46, whenever I saw you back in probably early 2021?
Okay, so Failed Imagineer would have come out in 2017, I think.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Okay, so since 2021, well, we had the pandemic, I guess, in there, and that kind of derailed a lot of my ongoing projects. That basically turned into some valuable time for me to explore some things that I always wanted to produce or to chase. And so I came up with my own doc series called Outdoor Hockey Club. So basically the last 5 years now, I've been going hard on my own series where I kind of promote the grassroots level of the game, people that play hockey for the fun of it. You know, Canada's got the brutal winters, but there's an important group of people out there that are volunteering their time to make rinks and clear rinks and provide places to play and enjoying the game like that. So I've been really digging into that part of hockey culture because obviously the other part of hockey culture is kind of sad these days. So I would say Outdoor Hockey Club takes up a lot of my time, and then I'm still freelancing. I'm a producer for APTN, their hockey broadcast in Cree and in Uptatuk. So I produce multiple games every season there, and then you jump from gig to gig. It's a freelance lifestyle, always hustling, never know what tomorrow brings.
Yeah. Well, it's great that you are open to those kinds of projects because you never know what life is going to bring you. I do a bunch of that kind of stuff with this podcast and another podcast and stuff. So it's fun to see the adventure of life and to see it all unfold and to look back and be like, man, I can't believe I did all those things. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
it's kind of just
for
like,
sure.
it makes life a little more exciting.
I love hockey, obviously. I love sports. And in this changing world of AI and whatever else is out there, different scripted television and all sorts of things, the uncertainty with trying to get funding for your own documentaries or your own short films or your own music videos is just it's a gamble. But the one thing I always felt is sports will always be there. So if I do something sports related, which I love, then I should be okay. So I don't know.
Well, I'm a huge Buffalo Bills fan, and my co-host Steve and I have actually recorded a couple of episodes in the tailgate parking lot at the stadium for the Buffalo Bills recently, and woven propaganda details and stuff like that during those conversations. But it's really fun to kind of mix it up and play around with that. But I am totally on board with you about that. And Dylan from Clipwing, your band Clipwing, Dylan is kind of involved in the Outdoor Hockey Club series as well, right?
Yeah, actually, so 2 winters ago, I took Dylan out to Lake Winnipeg for his first ever skate on a lake, which was a rite of passage, you could say, or whatever. And it was late March, and the conditions were amazing. And we basically drove an hour north of Winnipeg and found a spot near Gimli and just hung out on the lake all day and shot the puck around, and then found another spot further south that where he skated, like kind of by this ice ridge and stuff. And then yeah, this past winter I did a Manitoba themed outdoor hockey club series for Bell, and Dylan was in that series as well. We went to our one of our favorite rinks in Winnipeg, Clara Hughes Community Center or whatever they call it, up on just off Henderson Highway, and so spent a couple hours with Dylan shooting the biscuit around and just talking about why we love outdoor hockey.
Love it. Well, I also have to tell listeners that you have been on the podcast since then, but not spoken because I actually stole a photo of yours where you were
I
playing
saw
outdoor
that.
hockey and I
Yeah.
turned it into the cover art for the Dear Coach's Corner Deluxe episode. And I was like, you know what? I'm not even going to ask Randy's permission about this, which
It's
is maybe kind of a jerk move, but I knew that you would have a good sense of humor about it. And you adorn the cover artwork for my Dear Coach's Corner Deluxe episode, which is one of the highest downloaded episodes that the podcast has ever done. So you're kind
right
of
on.
you're like a lore legend at this point for that hockey logo.
And I'm wearing this thing actually in the picture as well, this shirt. So full circle.
It all comes together. Okay, so let's chat about propaganda. You have been super busy lately. Just like the band. The band's on the road. They're touring in Europe right now as we're recording. The record's been out for 3 weeks at this point. Um, when did you start hearing about new material from Propaganda?
Well, being in Winnipeg, like and running in the similar circles, like you always hear different things, like what are the guys up to, that sort of thing. I remember hearing or seeing clips about them recording with JP, like at Private Ear, like I think maybe when they were doing the initial drum tracks. Actually, by the way, like that episode you talked to JP, like, wow, that was so good, man. Like,
It was fun.
yeah,
Such a
yeah.
blast.
So I remember hearing about when they first went into the studio. And then I crossed paths with Chris a couple times, like in the late fall and early winter, and kind of heard about how they had to get certain things done, by Christmas and that sort of thing. So, it was kind of like, you know, the it was known, somewhat known, I guess. I would say near the end of last year, it was kind of the buzz was happening. It's like, oh yeah, here it comes.
Excellent.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's once every 5 to 8 years kind of event now at this point. So hopefully they can get another one out someday, a little bit shorter than 8 years this time.
Actually, it doesn't even feel like 8 years to me.
Yeah.
Like Victory Lap still feels pretty fresh, but
Yeah.
I don't know. Like if you would have asked me without telling me any of that information, I probably would have said, "Oh, well, it was like 4 years ago." Like it doesn't seem that long, but
Yeah, we
here
all
we are.
sort of have a skewed sense of time now because of that 2020, 2021 couple of years in there. Okay, so how did you start getting involved in the promotion aspect of this new record? When did those conversations start happening for you?
I think maybe January-ish we started chatting. Um, Near the end of the year, end of last year, I digitized a whole bunch of like VHS tapes of like old propaganda shows, and I dropped them off for Chris. That was like around Christmas time, I guess. And then just kind of like being in contact about that. Then I remember him asking me, I'm pretty sure it was in January or February, about like, make sure you or keep keep some dates open because Sue Lynn's going to be coming to Winnipeg for some rehearsals, and we'd like to shoot a music video around that time. So we actually started talking about the music video shoot first before the lyric video ideas that don't really include current visuals or the band, like the Cat Guy one.
Hmm.
So we actually were talking about the performance video idea first, and then we started talking about the other ones.
Excellent. Well, let's go in order here. So you've done 3 videos in really quick succession as well. You did an at peace video, you did the cat guy video, and you did No Longer Young. So tracks 2, 3, and 4 in the record, in the order that they appear on the record, in the order that they were released. So let's start with that piece. Um, Tell me about getting to do your version of the at peace video.
So I hadn't even heard the song yet, actually, and I told Chris that there's this whole second day of footage from the Park Theater that I'm sure a lot of listeners have seen the Park Theater concert on
Hmm.
Chris's Patreon, or
Yeah.
also the two videos that are on the Fat Records YouTube channel. So there was a whole second night that was captured for a concert video. And the second night actually had more camera operators, and we had one camera dedicated to shooting complete just slow-mo the whole time. So that's
Mm,
like, well, I'm sitting on a gold mine of great footage. So I basically went through the entire concert in slow motion and
wow.
found all the best moments and basically just put them all those into a timeline. And then once I finally got the song, I just started kind of putting it all together and uh found moments that just worked visually to like what was being said or what the actions or whatever. And then yeah, the whole color treatment made it black and white. And then we do a few passes on figuring out like the right font and the right color and that sort of thing, but ultimately I think it was maybe like a day and a half of work total. And you get a pretty good sense of it. There's like the odd thing. It's like, we see this crowd shot one too many times. Could we find something else or um that sort of thing? But for the most part, it just unfolds, it's pretty relaxed. I kind of know what they are into, and I have my own style that I like to implement as well. And yeah, like I said, because there was so much live footage, I mixed in some real time shots, just like especially when there was crowd surfing or whatever. But yeah, it was just kind of one of those things where I could easily make a music video out of this all this footage I have. We might as well go for it.
Is the footage from the 2019 park shows or the 2021 Thanksgiving weekend shows?
That's 2019.
Okay, 2019 footage. Okay, cool.
Yeah,
Because I was at
because
those 2021 shows with you.
yeah, yeah, we didn't film those ones, but 2019, they were shot in 2019, but I don't think they came out on the Patreon until like a couple of years later.
Right. Yeah. So
Because I was
I mean,
so bored during COVID, I was like,
oh my
Chris,
God. Yeah.
let me cut this concert or something. So then I'd have to look back on what day it actually came out, but it was like I don't know, like the 19th and the 25th or something in 2019. Like the shows weren't back to back; they were a few
Mhm.
days apart, and we basically had two nights to look at. And I don't know, there was just something special about the night that we used for the Patreon release,
So good.
that just that night had something special, and it came through in the footage. And actually there's a
Yeah.
few songs that are cut out that are still sitting on the floor here.
Ooh,
Yeah,
nice. That's
I just remembered that.
some juicy details. You'll have to try to convince Chris to release those as Patreon material
Yeah, for
sometime.
sure.
I blew up that video on my big screen TV when he released that on Patreon, and I watched it on my couch, drinking beer, like partying in my
Nice.
living room by myself. I had a good time with that.
I
Um,
think did I hear that is there a version where he's doing commentary on it too or something?
I think so. Yeah, I think he
Okay.
did like a live commentary over some of it or all of it because it's really interesting hearing his commentary about what's going through his head while he's performing and how he tries to like calm himself down and stay in the moment. And so he kind of goes over on Patreon what his process is like for not kind of like almost like I don't want to say freaking out because he's obviously such a great live performer, but I don't think that he loves live performance because it's pretty hard and taxing and difficult.
Yeah.
So he kind of walks his Patreon listeners through what it's like being on stage for a whole entire set and what goes through his mind. It's really just fascinating stuff.
Oh, cool.
Yeah. Okay, so let's chat about Cat Guy for a little bit. Cat Guy, second single. Tell me a little bit about how the band and you planned this one out to create the product that you did.
Again, so it was basically like the performance video idea was still coming up, and then Chris mentioned that they wanted to do another video or that didn't require the band being in it because Sue Lin wasn't going to be in Winnipeg until whenever that was, mid-March, I think, or I don't know, May, April. Well, I forget what month we're in right now. But anyways, she was coming, or Sulin was coming at a certain time, and we just needed to figure out another idea. So we kind of threw some ideas back and forth as far as like what could we do that didn't include the band. I had no idea that the song was called Cat Guy, so I was just throwing out random ideas. Like I think I said we should do like a reaction video where someone is like listening to the song for the first time, but they extremely hate it. uh, or we should do like a because there's a amazing collection of Propaganda fans out on the internet that put so much time into like first listen videos or playthroughs or like all those sort of things. So I was like, those were some of my ideas. Like, let's do like a spoof of like a first listen video and where the person just hates it, or let's do like a guitar playthrough, like a serious one. I also said like we should do like a road hockey game or something, like get a bunch of people and do a road hockey game. And then he said, "How about cats?" And then that's when I realized the song was called Cat Guy. So then I was like, that makes sense. And so then he had kind of the idea started, and then just with the materials I have access to, like stock footage library and everything, I basically just found every single cat shot that I could find on the service that I use, and then basically just started cutting it together. And one thing I wanted to mention too about the at peace video, like, well, all three of these is because they're lyric videos. So much more of my time is into like placing the text and timing it out.
Hmm.
So like I'm actually paying way more attention to the lyrics than I am to the music. So like
Mhm.
Cat Guy especially, like the whole um the whole like theme of that song, like the question that's raised at the beginning, and then as you travel through the song, and then the payoff at the very end, like that whole time I'm just sitting with those words and like, this isn't like, just think like, and then like asking those questions to myself, like that's what I was like analyzing so much, like. And then after like it was all done, then I really sat and enjoyed like the music aspect to it. Like I did notice how good the guitars sounded on At Peace. I really liked that opening riff, and then when they come in, but then I didn't really it like when I'm editing music videos, I'm not really I'm not listening as a listener, I'm listening as an editor. So then a lot of those songs didn't really sink in for me until actually they came out on YouTube, and I watched them on YouTube where I wasn't sitting at my computer editing them. Like then I could enjoy them uh as a fan. So I just remember like Cat Guy, like how the drums start, like, and I'm like, man, that perfect shot of the cat kind of like creeping towards the camera, like it's just like there were so many moments that just kind of like it's a cliche, but like the video cut itself, like I just knew which cat had to go where. And then yeah, after that it was and then we tried different fonts, like we tried like really cartoony font, like a bright yellow, like almost looking like a cartoon. And then that kind of distracted from the visuals, and then tried something more basic. And then so one of us suggested, what about just using the Propaganda font? So then that's what we used. And then the at
Nice.
peace video was just a different, more bold font.
How many renders did you have to do for the versions that you and the band decided was like the one? Like, how many versions did you bounce over to them?
Well, when it comes to doing like the lyrics and like the timing, I usually just do like one section, like maybe like 30 seconds of the song, and then we go back and forth over that maybe 5 or 6 times. And then once that's the little section's done, then I say, okay, I'll go do the rest of the video, and then we'll look at it. Because if I keep sending too many cuts, then it like you kind of lose momentum. So I don't know, maybe 4 or 5 sometimes. And like the changes are like minor. It's like, can this word come in just a touch sooner, or can we try this shot of a cat somewhere else? Like it's not like a full sale change, but yeah, it's pretty chill.
Nice. Well, let's chat about the last video that actually sounds like it was the first video that was planned sort of as the No Longer Young video. This is my favorite of the three videos that you've made recently. Obviously, there's so much like work that goes into getting every person together at once for you to film. So this is a special one. I love that it almost feels like a sequel to Failed Imagineer. Because they're in the practice space, recording it with like that, the lyrics flowing over. It's similar to what you did with the band several years ago for the Failed Imagineer video, but it includes so many more elements of the local in Winnipeg. You get a real sense for parts of town for this one. So tell me a little bit about the planning process for this particular video, and then we'll talk about some of the locations and stuff that you see in the video. Tell me about the planning for it.
Yeah, so actually Steve-O said the same thing. He felt that it was like a extension of the Failed Imagineer video, I guess, with theme and, vibe and that sort of, and that's like in the Failed Imagineer, that's, I believe that's Chris's handwriting for the lyrics. And then for No Longer Young, that's Todd's handwriting. So, that wasn't a font or anything like that.
Very cool.
Filming the video, honestly, like there's not much planning. It's just kind of like come down and do your thing. So, like I said, Sulin was in Winnipeg for rehearsals, and it was like a Wednesday afternoon. I think I got there like at 1:30, and by 3 o'clock, I was done shooting the band stuff. Like they filmed, I don't know, 5 or 6, no, maybe more than that, 7 or 8 takes. But I had I had a second camera set up, shooting just a backup angle just in case, just so I had some additional stuff to choose from. Because thinking back to the Failed Imagineer video, I think there was only 5 total takes, but the first 2 takes were the wrong tempo, so I could only pick and choose small moments out of those performances. So I got a few more performances out of them for this video, for the performance, and just, yeah, like just capture them in their element. Like that's where they spend all their time. It's not, I'm not trying to make it look like it's not, like, I'm not trying to make it look different. I'm just trying to make it look like if you were sitting in their jam space jamming or like listening to them jam. Like that's what I was going for. It doesn't need to be a full on camera crew with like tons of lights and whatever. It's just keep it simple and keep it to the kind of the DIY, feel. And yeah, they played it like a few times, and yeah, felt good about it. And again, like this song, the first time I heard the song was the first time they played it in the jam space. And yeah, it's just great vibe. I had no idea the songs were going to be 2, 3, 4 on the album like that. Like, it was pretty neat how it worked out. And then, just adding the aspect of um having other viz of the band, like just out and about, I thought was a great idea. That's something that Todd wanted to add. And again, that's just it just shows the band like not behind their instruments, and shows them in the city, in different spots. And it just again, it's there's different visuals. Like, it's just not all the same. And I, as an editor, I like that.
So there's a few specific spots. There's a cemetery that pops up. There is a bike path that pops up. There is kind of a stream that pops up. There is a train track. So tell us a little bit about where y'all went for the spots in town that made the video.
It's honestly, it's all within 5 minutes.
Yeah,
Next time you come to Winnipeg, this
I want to
later
see
this
it.
year, yeah, it's basically like, it's called Omens Creek,
Yeah.
and it's right by the Polo Park, like in St. James, I guess, area. Um, Underneath that bridge, and when the train crosses, that's like Omens Creek there. Um, yeah, and then basically just like a couple minutes to the south, like south of Portage Avenue, right across the street from Polo Park, is the St. James Cemetery, and that's where we were for a couple of those shots. And then you basically walk down the path towards Omens Creek, where it is goes close to the Assiniboine River there. So like when Todd's walking across that bridge and looking down at the bridge, and where there's geese are, that's overlooking the Assiniboine River. So it's all very close. Like, I think we met at like 5 o'clock and just spent about an hour and a half just shooting different stuff of like them walking around, like no real no real blocking. It was just like everything they were doing was just kind of like they're just chatting on whatever's coming up, and just kept it real. Like the second you try and I don't know, force some sort of narrative or some sort of direction to it, it just turns ends up turning a little too set up or not real. And I don't know, just kind of let it be. Let
Yeah.
it be what it is, and walked around and enjoyed the sights and sounds, and people would walk by and say hi. And actually, Stephen Carroll from the Weaker Thens rode by on his bike when we were on the bridge, and just
Nice.
said hi to him. And yeah, just that's Winnipeg for you, I guess.
I was gonna ask if they got recognized out and about while you were filming. That's great. Steve Carroll. Love it. Steve
Yeah.
Carroll, also famously of Legends, Toothpick Hercules, the writers of the song Leg Hold Trap from the How to Clean Everything Deluxe Edition. So shout out to Steve. So in the video at the very end, Chris points at the headstock of his Hondo guitar. Did he make you film that?
No, that was just I was doing Chris's ISO shots, and that was just kind of like I started panning off, as the song ended, and he made that reference. Yeah.
Love it. He specifically pointed that out on his Patreon whenever they released the video. So I just was like, did he make you film that? So it's glad to hear that that was a random occurrence, because he really, I think, got a big kick out of being able to share that story on his Patreon. But Randy, it's really cool that you were able to make a video for a Todd Kowalski song. As far as I know, like, this band doesn't make very many music videos throughout their, entire existence as a band. And the ones that did exist, featured Chris. So it's really, really cool to have a Todd song get the full video treatment. I was like just happy for Todd. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and the song's great too. Like the singing alone in that song, I find, I don't know, like it seems like they just know how to find that next level somehow. Like there's always something new around the corner that it shows the passion and the hard work that they've put into their music over the years, and how they won't settle for just putting whatever out. They work really hard at what they do, and it shows. And like yeah, the passion, and like also like No Longer Young, to me, like it also sounded like a song that I've heard before, but I couldn't place it. There's just like a comfort to it, like a
Yeah.
nostalgia to it. Like, and like it's not like, I'm not saying it was a rip off of a song. I'm just like saying it's like there's something very nostalgic about it, and the theme of it too, is can resonate as well. But I just felt like, man, that song, like I could listen to that song forever, and there's just you catch even though it's only what 2.5 minutes long, just under 3 minutes long. There's something new that I catch from it every single time. And yeah, like the fact that it's a Todd song that gets featured in a music video, and Todd was behind a lot of the creative to it. And I wanted, it was nice to have it that way, because otherwise it just would have been them in their jam space. And it neat to see those all those elements come together.
Yeah. And it's got a great chorus. You know what I mean? Propagandy, not a band that is very well known for doing specific choruses. So this is, even though it's kind of like a familiar tune that you could hear like other bands possibly writing, you haven't heard it from this band. So even though it's a song that you could recognize as being by another band, it's totally unique for them. So that was what
Yeah.
surprised me about it the most.
And it fits on the record too. Like, like when you think about, I couldn't imagine like the and that you go into it a little bit on your at peace episode, where they talk about the track listing and stuff like that. But I don't know, just it fit, like it sounds different, but at the same time, like even like if you go from like Guiding Lights to at peace, like to Cat Guy to No Longer Young, like those four songs all sound very different, but they all work together. And then Rented PA and after
Yeah.
that, like they all work perfectly. In as one collective piece. And I'm listening to the record a lot these days, and I kind of like stick to one side, and I listen to that one side, and then I'll listen to that one side a few times, and then I'll flip it over or whatever. But it just, yeah, I don't know, like it's a amazing collection of music, and it's very interesting how it all has some connection to it as well.
So I know the did Epitaph give you any comments or feedback on any of the 3 videos that you did? Have you heard from them at all?
No, the only feedback was like, we need this in 4K. That's about it. Yeah, when it
Nice.
comes to creative stuff, I guess Propaganda has a lot of the, if they like it, then I guess it's good. Yeah.
Sweet. So I know that you were pretty happy that the low end university presenter Mark, who runs that channel, I know you were pretty stoked that he used your version for his bass analysis of that song for At Peace. Tell me a little bit about seeing that come through.
Well, seeing that, but also like you gave me a shout out on one of the very first ones that came out, like one of the live ones, maybe.
Yeah,
It must have been, yeah.
dude, I'll
And
shout you out all the time.
yeah. And then so like that's like, you make stuff because you want people to see it or you want people to hear it, right? So, you know, to this today, like I think Failed Imagineer, the music video has almost 2.5 million views, like, and as a filmmaker, like that's what you want to see. Like you want the work that you put into something, you want people to listen to it, you want people to hear it, and obviously the same goes for the band when they release their stuff. They want it out there, and the whole video platform, that's just the way the YouTube, uh, you know, community is going, and the fact that this other huge YouTube channel who, um, not only like he's got something super unique going on, like you know, I, bass playing doesn't usually get the spotlight on, in most worlds, but like what he's done with bass, and he's opened up, like especially to like music lovers like myself and my friends, like the way that he analyzes things, and the way, and also seeing the way that how he reacts to watching something for the first time, especially propaganda stuff. It's like nostalgic for yourself, being like, oh, I remember the first time I heard that song, and you kind of get to really relive that feeling in that moment. So the fact that this guy's got this huge YouTube channel, and he's you know putting some focus not only on the song but also like on the bass playing and the bass player, um is amazing. And yeah, it's really cool to see people, because then there's all sorts of cool little comments like in down below, where it's like, yeah, like this was from the same show, and like there's another, like, and people were asking like, is the whole concert out there? Yeah, it's out on Patreon, and people went and found it on Patreon, and like that's just a whole new wave, because that concert came out like 4 years ago on Patreon, and I'm sure it's
Yeah.
getting, I can see the numbers, because I'm hosting it on my Vimeo account, so I can see how
Oh,
many
sweet.
people watch the Patreon video. So it's like every single day someone's watching it, and that's pretty cool.
Dude, that is awesome. Is Propaganda the only music videos that you've done? Have you worked with other bands?
I did Comeback Kid stuff like way back in the day, like
Uh-huh.
2008, 2009. I worked on their DVD and live concert. Um, I've done music videos for like other local Winnipeg bands, like around the time when I released the Royal Albert documentary. I'm
Mhm.
sure I sent that to you at one
I
point.
did. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Is that released right now, or is that kind of behind the paywall at the moment?
It's still, I don't know. It should just get up on YouTube, but yeah, it's still private, I guess you could say. But yeah, like I've done a lot of music videos for like a lot of bands that were played at the album, like High Five Drive, like the guys that are in Clipwing. I can't even think of some of the music videos I've done. Like back in '09, 2010, 2011, 2012. I did a ton of music videos back then. Right after the Albert doc, this is something that I want to talk about actually. Right after the Albert doc came out, Chris emailed me about whether I'd be interested in doing a propaganda documentary, and I was like, of course I would be.
Yeah.
And that was 2009, and it's 2025, and we still haven't made it. And every couple years I bug him about it. So that's one thing that's on my list, and it doesn't need to be like a big long thing, but and also like just for the sake of posterity, like capturing their stories on camera, and not necessarily for like a theatrical release or anything, but just to have them, similar to what you're doing with the podcast. Like,
Hmm.
because once these people forget these stories or whatever, like then they're gone. So any um format you can use to capture these stories and archive them and keep them, yeah, that just yeah made me realize that it's been an ongoing conversation for years, like over a decade now, and almost 2 decades, I guess, and
Hey,
maybe one day.
can I share my screen with you for a moment and share and show something to you?
Sure, yeah.
Don't say what it is though, because
Okay.
it's just being done. But I'm going to share here real quick, and I'm going to drive the listeners completely insane that they're not going to be able to see what this is. Can you see that?
Oh yeah. Oh wow. That's amazing.
It's done.
Right on.
Yep, September 2025. But
Is
anyway,
that why you're coming to Winnipeg?
well, no, I'm coming up to Winnipeg to rock.
Okay.
Oh,
That's awesome. Congrats,
oh,
buddy.
thank you so much. I'll talk to you more about it off camera. Okay, so Randy, what is next for you? Um, you got a band, you've been recording, you probably got some other projects in the works. What do you want to promote for listeners out there who are hearing you?
Well, actually, first and foremost, um, propaganda related, my outdoor hockey club series that was released on Bell here in Canada. It's out now, so if you're a Bell subscriber, you can watch it anywhere in Canada. Beeve actually provided some music for my series. So
Sweet.
there's a handful of Beeve tunes in my series. I've started talking to him. I want to make a film about surfing here in Manitoba, called the Landlock Surf Crew. Actually, Steve Carroll is part of that crew. There's a bunch of guys that go surfing on Lake Winnipeg every summer, and I kind of wanted to make like a Manitoba's version of a surf rock doc kind of thing. And I thought Beeve would be a great person to ask to start making some tunes. Again, you live in the world of trying to find funding and ways to make these films. So I've I shot a little bit for that film already the same day that I filmed the No Longer Young music video. So that's one thing that's on the go. Who knows? It might be an ongoing project that happens over the course of a few years, but Beeve will be doing some. I basically made it like I think my direction for him musically was like think of some surf rock but on a cloudy day, and that's kind of what I want. I'm picturing musically for the film. Um, the battle continues. Outdoor Hockey Club. It's now like I started a company and I'm really working hard to turn that into my day job or to sustain itself. So over the course of the summer, I'm putting together like a longer outdoor hockey club film that I'm hoping to have some film screenings late fall, early winter, basically right when outdoor hockey season is about to start. Looking into different theaters and venues right now to kind of have a little mini outdoor hockey club screening tour. So I'll be working on that film all summer. I freelance, like I mentioned before. I'm working Canada Day in Ottawa for their big production there. I work for the Truth and Reconciliation Day on Parliament Hill. That's not till September, but a little bit of travel for that. And obviously, yeah, the Clipwing record is at its final stages with recording, mixing, and mastering. And that'll be something that comes out later this year. And obviously, Clipwing will be hitting the stage soon, once that's all said and done, and we'll be hitting the road likely to Europe in November-ish. Well, we'll see what
Killer.
happens there. Yeah.
Very nice.
No shortage of things going on. And also I just want to shout out that I'm a I've been a cat guy for 20 years.
But
My cat passed away after 20 years in November. And so we went a few months without having an animal. And now I'm a dog guy, but I couldn't go back down the cat road because I just felt like I would just be comparing him to Mo the whole time. And Mo was the best cat ever. And the fact that, so yeah, Murphy is now in the house and he's been a good dog this whole time, napping behind.
yeah, he's
And
a baby.
Yeah. So yeah. So and obviously having a brand new puppy that's 12 weeks old, it's a lot of work. So that's what I'm spending my time doing these days is going outside pretty much every 90 minutes or so to yeah, take him out. But
Hang
yeah,
out with
that's
Murph.
and and anything else that comes up, like I try and keep myself uh, I'm I'm ready to jump at any opportunity. So I also like you mentioned before, like those propaganda videos came like one was happening, but then two came out of nowhere. And I also like to give myself the freedom and flexibility to be able to jump on things like that. That I made the choice not to work a 9 to 5 and really concentrate on my creative efforts. So basically anything that randomly comes up, yeah, I'd like to be able to jump at it.
Right. So if anybody out there listening is looking for any video or editing work, hit up Randy. Outdoor Hockey Club on Instagram, right? Is that the best
Yeah.
way for people to reach you?
Well, and I also just made my own Instagram, like Randy
Oh,
Frykas.
that's right. And your randyfrickas.com. You got your
Yeah,
website too.
because outdoor like I didn't want to plaster outdoor hockey club fans with propaganda stuff or other things, so I created my own separate one that I could kind of pick and choose over my various projects. So yeah, always looking for stuff to do. And actually with this stuff being released, like it's been nice to connect with a whole bunch of propaganda fans out there, like asking questions about different aspects of making these things or learning more about the live videos. And actually I don't know if I mentioned this on the first one, but there was a failed imagine or a failed states music video that never was released that's still sitting on a
Uh,
hard drive.
is it
So that
edited?
was
Is it done?
what it was supposed to be, a lyric video, and it never made it that far, but the video is all done. So maybe that's something that comes out one day as well. And that
Send
was
that to
like the
Chris.
previous record.
Send it to Chris, man, because
Well, he
that's
knows about it.
that's the kind of Patreon stuff though that like
Yeah.
everybody on Patreon that's what we pay him for is like those behind the scenes things. So I would definitely love to see that. So maybe remind him when he gets home when you see
Yeah.
him next time, be like, oh hey Chris, you want that failed states video for Patreon?
And
And
actually
because
during the failed state sessions, I was in the studio for I think 1 or 2 days. So there's a whole bunch of recording studio footage. That's out. It's out right now on
I've seen some of it.
yeah, on maybe it's on my Vimeo. Um but yeah, there's because I've had some spare time, I've started digging through my old hard drives to look for some of that stuff. And actually I ended up recutting the failed Imagineer video. Like not a full recut, but I there were some things I wanted to adjust, and so I did. And maybe I'll put that out or see if the guys want to put it out.
Treasure trove. Well,
Yeah.
Randy Frickas, thank you so much for coming back on Unscripted Moments, a podcast about propaganda. And if people want to hear your first appearance on the podcast, all you have to do is keep listening because I'm going to re-release Randy's Failed Imagineer interview at the end of this episode. So if you just keep listening, you're going to hear me and Randy chatting in 2021, I think it is. So stay tuned. But Randy, thanks so much for coming back, and hope to connect in person in a couple of months for a rock and roll show up in Winnipeg.
Yeah, I missed you last time, so we gotta
Yeah.
we gotta make sure and I'll take you to all those music video spots.
Oh yes, we'll have a real good time. Well, Randy, thanks for being here, man, and I'll catch you soon.
Thanks, Red.
Randy Frickas, welcome to Unscripted Moments, a podcast about propaganda.
Great to be here. Thanks for having me.
I'm delighted to have you here, Randy. We're going to have a really good chat tonight for the episode for Failed Imagineer, and this is really wonderful. Can you just spend a moment and introduce yourself a little bit to the audience so they know who you are and what you do?
Well, like you said, my name is Randy Frykas. I'm a freelance director, editor, mainly documentary productions. But I've worked on all sorts of shows, music kind of productions, music videos, kind of everything under the sun. I've been freelance since 2005. I worked a couple years for a broadcaster here in Winnipeg, and then figured that I didn't want to succumb to the corporate overlords of broadcast television. So I figured I should go on my own and made that decision, like I said, about 15 years ago, and still doing it, still getting her going. So, and then just trying to play as much hockey as I can and talk hockey and, that kind of stuff. same
Awesome.
time.
Fantastic. Well, Randy, I think that you're probably going to be most well known to the audience of this podcast as the director of the Failed Imagineer video, which we'll get into in a little bit. But before we do, I'm just curious how you got into film in the first place. Like, why did this career path speak to you as a person, like finding your way in the world?
It was definitely through music. So growing up, I grew up in Stonewall, Manitoba, which is just north of Winnipeg, about half an hour away. And in high school, I played in bands. I was really into like playing music, but I was also into like recording, and I had a 4-track, and I would record in my own band in the garage. Same thing, like friends' bands and all that stuff. I was just so into that. And then, grade 12 came along, wasn't sure what I was going to do after school. Like, was like, should I become a teacher? Should I do something, phys ed related, whatever. I had no idea. And then at my, my mom actually found this course in Brandon, Manitoba, which is west of Winnipeg, that offered like audio recording and video and all this kind of stuff, web production way back then. And so I kind of took that route, and then went to the 2-year course there, learned about audio recording, learned about TV filming, shooting, editing, directing, all that stuff. Came back to Winnipeg, did my practicum at a recording studio that I won't mention, but I just folded album covers for 2 months. And it was like, well, it looks like there's no future in this. So I applied for a job at a TV broadcaster, like I mentioned, and I worked my butt off for 2 years, met a bunch of folks, and kind of, like I said, kind of forged a path. And once I cut my first documentary, it was kind of, that was the moment where I was like, okay, this is what I want to do. I love, storytelling and crafting stories like that. And a little bit kind of attributes back to when I was in high school, there was a movie that came out called Hardcore Logo, directed by Bruce McDonald, and it was kind of like a mockumentary following a band across Western Canada. And that was kind of my first you know exposure to, like, oh man, like maybe there's some, like, I would love to do that. I would love to make films about music and that kind of thing. So that was a seed that was planted pretty early. And like I said, I kind of went for it, and yeah, here I am today.
Nice. What have been some of your favorite projects that you've been a part of over the years? Just just some examples.
So my first film that I did on my own was a film called Call to Arms, which was a documentary about a venue here in Winnipeg called the Royal Albert. But prior to that one, I worked on the Comeback Kid DVD, which was a documentary and a live concert that was filmed in Germany. That one always sticks out to me because it felt like that was a turning point for my career. That really felt like I was starting to find my niche in kind of independent productions, and especially music based ones. And I've done a lot of hockey. I'm a huge hockey fan. I've done a lot of hockey films and hockey productions. I worked on a couple seasons of a Sportsnet series where we followed a hockey team for the whole season, and it was kind of like the 24/7 style doc series. And then leading up to actually the Winnipeg Jets returning to here in Winnipeg, um, I actually started a film about a year in advance to them coming back, uh,
Mm.
based on the idea of, 15 years later, people still walk around town talking about the Jets like they're still here. And then while like it was, it was true. Like people would still remember Jets moments, like, and talk about them like they just happened, but they were actually 20 years old or 15 years old. And through the course of making that movie or film documentary, the Jets actually came back. So that was like the perfect ending for my documentary. So I would say, the Comeback Kid one, these hockey series that I did for Sportsnet, and my Jets one are definitely a few of my favorites.
Nice. How did you get into music? Like, what kind of music were you exploring, like, whenever you were younger, that kind of brought you into this world?
Well, yeah, probably age 12 or 13, a few of my friends, and maybe their older brothers, they were into Nirvana and that kind of thing. And, that would have been 92, 93. So, Nirvana was like Nevermind, and, they were still quite big and before Cobain passed away there. So it was through friends, and then it's just like, oh, like I saw one of my buddies playing guitar, and it's like I want to do that. And then right around that time was like the punk explosion with, I was big into like Green Day and Rancid and those kind of East Bay bands.
Mm-hmm.
Those were my favorite ones. So basically once actually I specifically there was a concert on We Have Much Music here in Canada, or We
Mm-hmm.
Have Much Music. There was a concert called Green Day Jaded in Chicago, and it was like this hour-long concert that was on TV. And I basically recorded that on VHS, and that's how I taught myself how to play guitar. I just kept watching that concert over and over again, and it's like that's how I learned chords and figured it out. So it was through through some friends, and then you find your band, and you kind of want to learn how to play those songs. And then once you can play a song or half a song, you're like, let's start a band. And that's kind of where it started.
I love it. I have such a similar story. It's crazy, almost to the letter. How did you find Propaganda? Because they're like, sort of like one of the local well-known names. You mentioned Comeback Kid earlier as well, but Propaganda and Winnipeg are so synonymous. When did you first hear Propaganda?
It, I was thinking about this the other day, and I think it was probably Survival of the Fattest,
Mm-hmm.
like the Fat Records compilation. Nation States was on that compilation, and I just remember that was the only song that I liked on that comp. I don't know
Mm.
why, but it was just like there was something about it. And then it's like when I found out, it's like, oh, those guys are from Portage, La Prairie. Um, and my again, a couple of my other friends were like big Propaganda fans growing up in high school. And just for me, like I said, it was just Nation States. I was like, this song is so great. I would like skip all the other songs, and then I just remember all the other comps. Like I think maybe Cool Kids by Screeching Weasel was on the
Yeah.
next one. Like that was a song that really stuck with me for some reason. But yeah, like for sure it was Propaganda on Survival of the Fattest was my first experience, and the one that like I still to this day I love that song. Like I just can't get enough of it.
Heck yeah. Did you become a fan of them? Like them being like a band where you were? And I know they were probably gone a lot, but in the late 90s, they were like, running the record label around town a whole bunch. Um, did you see them live? Were they like floating around? Did they enter your social orbit at all around that time?
Not really then. Like I would have to say my first live experience seeing the band I think was around 99 or 2000 at a venue that was called Le Rendezvous here in Winnipeg. And I remember it was like it was a benefit show. I like I said, I grew up in Stonewall, so we would have to drive into to town for or drive into the city for those shows. But I remember it was like the band Randy from Sweden was
Hmm.
also playing. And I was like seeing those guys, they were just bananas, and I loved it.
Unbelievable.
Yeah. And then seeing Propaganda, I guess I think it was like Today's Empire is Tomorrow's Ashes.
Okay.
Um, Around that time is like when I would have really started to get into them. Like, my friends were into them. I was just more into the, like I said, the East Bay stuff. And then around that album and seeing them live is when I would have for sure started to become a fan. And I um, didn't really cross paths with them until much later.
Yeah, so that was about 20 years ago now that you sort of dove in with today's Empire's era. Do you have a favorite record that stands out from the band as something that's like your favorite record by them that's your go-to?
I wouldn't say I have a favorite. Like I love Supporting Cast. Well, I guess quick little like Today's Empire's Tomorrow's Ashes. The other cool thing about that one is like I remember like I was freelancing at a production house in Winnipeg, and I think they recorded parts of that album at that same place.
Oh, sweet.
So when I was like reading the album liner, I was like, this is crazy. Like they recorded some of this. Like it's like the 1 degree of separation. Like because Winnipeg's a small town kind of feel. Like everyone's within 1 degree of each other kind of thing. So that was one thing that I remembered was kind of interesting about that. Um, and then just through the years, it's just been really cool just to see how the music has progressed, and like thinking about like from the mid 90s to where they're at today. Like I don't have a favorite. Like I don't I don't like I like the full album experience and like what it represents from that period of time, or the topics that they're singing about, or um that kind of thing. So it's on any given day I'm maybe spinning a different one. Like I said, supporting cast kind of, I think that would have come out around the time when I was doing the Albert documentary. So I just would have been spinning that one a lot, just you know trying to get into the zone for filmmaking or
Yeah.
writing or whatever. Failed States would have been um around I think I was actually in the studio with them for a day or two, filming during Failed States,
Oh,
if
sweet.
I remember correctly. And then Victory Lap, just because it's the most recent one. And I remember like the first time I heard that record, I made a event out of it. Like I sat here at my computer, I had headphones on, I made sure I had a beer, and I just like fully immersed myself into it. And I just remember it being just such a rewarding experience. But yeah, like it's all different, like sometimes I'll throw on the old stuff or whatever, but yeah, no favorites for real. I like it all. Like variety is great.
Nice. Well, and what's really funny is you just mentioned failed states, and you also mentioned earlier that you love hockey, and I know that you have a connection to Propagandy with an adult hockey league. And if everybody in failed states knows the picture in the LP of Chris, I think I've got it right here actually. Yeah, I've got the LP. Here it is. Um, he's wearing a hockey jersey on the inside of the album, and I believe that is your hockey team's jersey. Am I correct?
That's correct. Yeah, I think he's probably wearing the white jersey with
Yeah.
with the owl on the front.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
tell me a little bit about the hockey team, Caress of Steel, because I'm super curious about what you guys are up to.
So Caress of Steel was I guess you could say it's a beer league hockey team that was put together around, well, the same year that actually the Jets came back, so 2011. Chris and Beeve would have been part of like the original group of players. Eric Paz is was the main kind of guy spearheading it, and he still is to this day. Um, so it, like I said, it was just a group of friends, like a lot of music, based connections, and also artists and that kind of thing. Some teachers too as well. And it was just, I think they just all had the urge to start a team, and I didn't really know them back then. I knew Chris vaguely through talking to him for the Albert documentary, but one of my friends said, Chris made a post somewhere, they're looking for hockey players, and like I played hockey my whole life, and it's like, oh dude, can I come play? And then I joined their team, and kind of like as a what you like a spare or whatever, a part-timer. And
Yeah.
then yeah, I played every single season with Crest of Steel since 2011. So yeah, it's just a group of guys that we love hockey, and yeah, it's a good time together.
I was looking at your Instagram for the hockey team earlier, and there's something that you guys have in all the pictures. I believe it's called the Dirty Owl.
That's correct. Yeah,
Can you
that's
tell
the
me a little bit about the Dirty Owl? Because I thought that was awesome. And the owl is on the jersey, which is also really cool.
yeah. So Caress of Steel, it's a Rush reference. So there's the Rush album that kind of has the same owl look to it, and then to the we have, so the jersey that Chris is wearing in the album there was the very first set of jerseys. And we don't really wear those ones anymore. We have a couple new sets. We have like a black jersey that's kind of like the vintage look with the strings, and it's got a big C kind of like on the front, and then the owls on the shoulders. And then we did like kind of like a rip off of the Canada Cup jersey that says it just says Caress, and it's got like a, instead of a maple leaf, like the partial maple leaf on Team Canada Cup, it's like a wing. And so obviously everything is surrounded around the owl. So someone had one of those
Those
decorative
yard
owls,
things.
yeah, that you keep in your yard to keep the whatever away, the bunnies or whatever. So that just turned into the player of the game, you know award, the Dirty Owl Award, and we just it's Dirty for short. We just call it Dirty. Who's got dirty? And it's not necessarily the guy or the player that scores the most goals or has the big play. It's the player on Crest of Steel that exemplifies what our team is all about. And basically it's like working hard and doing what's good for the team kind of thing. So yeah, the Dirty Owl Award. Yeah,
It's so cool. Well, and there's tons of propaganda related stuff in Caress of Steel. So Beeve and Chris are or have been on the team at different points in time. I think I also saw Wab Canoe, who did the Things I Like narration during the outro of Things I Like on Failed States. So there's tons of propaganda stuff within this team. And I also noticed that you and Chris, like I found some stats. Saw that you and Chris are like freaking goal scorers, man. Like you have like 185 goals or something in this beer league hockey team. So like you're out there shredding.
Yeah, no, yeah, there's we've definitely, like, quite a few years ago, Chris and I would go to Stick and Puck quite a bit together, and that's where you pay $7 and you can just go shoot the puck around at one of the local rinks here. But yeah, so to this day, Chris and Beeve are considered alumni Crest of Steel players.
Okay.
Wob is still on the team, and obviously things are shut down right now, so all we can really do is talk about hockey. But yeah, one of my favorite memories, that always sticks with me is I remember, like, I think this was probably the first season. I remember Chris on a breakaway, going up the ice, and I was following behind him, and I was beaver tapping, like, pass me the puck, even though he's on a breakaway. He scored, but I was a little choked. I could at least got an assist or something, but yeah, no, it was always a great time with those guys. And some games would get heated, and we would win, we would lose, or whatever. But then after the game, it's just kind of like the camaraderie and all those moments that are we all definitely miss right now because we can't do it. But those are priceless memories.
Well, hopefully chatting about it with me a little bit is going to be a nice little, make you feel good a little bit for at least tonight. So Randy, the reason that you and I got in touch is because a friend of yours reached out to me saying you really need to have Randy on the podcast because he's the director of Propaganda's only music video, Failed Imagineer, from Victory Lap. And I'm really excited to hear about the process of this video. And the video is credited on YouTube as Caress of Steel Productions, the same name as the hockey team. So I found that to be an absolute delight. But Propaganda is not a band that's known for music videos. So I'm curious if you can tell the story of how the opportunity came along to make this video with the band.
Yeah, just through the connection of, being around each other a lot, playing hockey, over the years, there's been some brief discussions about making some sort of propaganda film or a documentary. Just have never got to that point of going for it just yet. But just from being around, I think maybe the band and Epitaph were probably looking for something to put out there, like to promote the record when it was coming out. So yeah, it was just kind of like, do you want to film a video for us? What would you want to do? Kind of thing. Like it wasn't like a full out, there was no treatments or proposals or anything like that. It just, probably around that time we were playing hockey together, and it's like, yeah, we want to shoot a video. Do you want to do it, kind of thing? So, not a lot of planning went into it. But I just remember thinking, like, yeah, this is a band that has been around for quite a while, and they don't have a music video, like, filmed and edited. Like they have a lot of live stuff and different fan things put out there. But so this one, I guess, being the first official one, if you want to call it that. But yeah, there was not a lot of went into it. It was probably a post hockey thing saying, "Hey, we need to shoot a video. Do you want to do it?"
Nice. So this isn't like the kind of video where you had to like make like a bunch of storyboards or anything like that, right? It was kind of just like a lot more, a lot simpler than that, right?
Well, I'll just tell you here. So basically they were rehearsing for a tour because Sulin would have just come to town,
Yeah.
and so they were rehearsing. They're like, do you want to come shoot the video before our rehearsal this day, whichever day it was? Like, it was in the summer, I remember that, probably, I think, June or July. And I was like, sure. So I met them at their jam space. I set up one light. They played the song twice, and they were like, okay, that's good. And I'm like, well, if I need to make a video here, I can't just do it on 2 takes. So then they played other songs, and I filmed them playing other songs. So like a lot of the shots in the music video are them actually playing other songs that I could just use to for some variety. Because without that, I was like, 2 takes. Like, this is this is going to be difficult. So yeah, it was I was maybe there for an hour, and
What?
yeah, and yeah, that's what it was. And then I put together a first cut, and then I think, I don't know if it's still, I don't watch a lot of music videos, but like lyric videos, I think, are a lot bigger, or
Yeah.
they have been bigger. So then adding that aspect to it, like, because originally there was no lyrics on it, it was just the video. And then I think maybe by request of Chris or the record label, they were saying, can you add some text to it? So then that's where the idea came up, where get the handwritten lyrics, and I'll put those up, like, and sync them with the lyrics in the song. And that's kind of where it was. So I remember that summer, it was really hot, man. Like, their jam space wasn't really the most ventilated spot, but they made it work. And then I had to go on the road for a TV series for like 6 weeks. So I remember finishing the edit in hotel rooms across Canada. So yeah, not a huge extravagant story, but I just remember them finishing the song for the second time, saying, okay, that's it, like, see you later.
Oh my God.
And I was like, oh, at least let me shoot like a couple other songs.
So something I was curious about is like whenever they're playing the song, I mean, were the amps in the room like full volume, super loud? Was the room really loud when you were filming?
They were actually playing the song, so they must, well, they definitely do play to a click. So the click would be set to the same tempo as the recorded song. So they were actually playing in the video. They all have in ears and stuff like that. So I couldn't remember hearing the vocals, but yeah, like, amps were on, drums were being hit. It is real. I'm just glad that they performed it at the same speed as the album version, or else I would have been screwed.
Well, that's what I was going to say. Like, was there any planning that went into making sure that it would actually align to the recorded version? But I'm assuming that they probably played the click that they used when they recorded it with JP over at Private Ear. So, I'm glad that worked out, because that was actually one of the questions I was wondering is like, how do you sync a live performance to the studio recorded version of a song? Because that's not easy.
Well, yeah, if it wasn't the right tempo, then you got to start adjusting the speed and maybe editing a bit faster. And yeah, so anyways, I was thankful that it was a pretty good sync.
Nice, nice. So, folks got a big kick out of the fact that Todd is wearing a tattoo shirt on some of the clips. And then in the next clip, he will be not wearing the tattoo shirt. So I'm assuming on one of the takes, he was wearing the shirt, and on the other take, he was not wearing the shirt. And then you just went back and forth as far as the editing process between those two versions.
Yeah, there was definitely not a continuity person on set. So
I mean,
as I was the only one there. So yeah, no, it was just kind of one of those things. I don't like, it's, you just go for it. You just, whatever it's going to be what it's going to be. And that's what it was.
I loved that little version. And then another little thing that I really liked about the video was the ending that says everything is connected to everything else, which is like the poster hanging on the wall at the end of the video. And I'm curious if you had a comment on ending the video on that poster.
Yeah, honestly, I had no idea. Like, I just saw that in their space, and it's like, it's totally true. Like, I believe that. So it's like, that's cool. I'm putting that in. And then, like, you also see the Sea Shepherd flag up on the wall there. It just, not only did I want to capture the performance and like make this music video, but also give people a glimpse at like what a propaganda rehearsal would look like, or just like what is their space look like, or whatever, like where they would practice or the stuff like that. So just I know that there was like a lot of people that were pretty stoked on seeing what it looks like behind the scenes, because they only get to see them on stage for the most part.
Yeah. Do you have any other stories of like, working with the band behind the scenes, like something that would, that stands out to you as like partnering with them or being friends with them or anything like that?
um a couple things, I guess. Like it must have been failed states when I spent a couple days in the studio with them. And like there's a video for it online somewhere. I could find it. I'll send you
Sweet.
the link later.
Please
But
do.
it was like a promo video for that record. And I just remember getting to see their process in the studio with JP. And like Beeve and Chris were in one studio doing guitars, and JP and Todd, by this time the drums were, pardon me, were done already. And just like it was pretty cool just to see um the specifics, like, and like the attention to detail that those guys take towards the performance and towards like the crafting of the song and everything. It's just like it's, yeah, if I spent, well, I guess with editing I do, but like it just it's pretty cool to see people just like really you know pay so much attention to making sure it's exactly what they want it to be. So I just remember, yeah, like just seeing how good they are at playing, how consistent they were, and just steady. And then that just kind of reminded me of like I'm in a band called Clipwing, and we recorded one of our EPs at the same studio, and we got Chris to produce it for us.
Oh, sweet.
So I remember like doing um my guitar overdubs with Chris like one afternoon or whatever it was. And aside from like probably, 3 dozen hockey cliches that were probably getting thrown around like as I was doing it, like it was cool to be pushed by someone like that. Like you could play guitar by yourself in your room or wherever if you're playing live, but to then kind of be there with him and then kind of feel like you gotta, each take you gotta like bring your A game. And same thing with hockey. It's like we were always like really competitive, just to make sure that we made ourselves a good team. It just so yeah, just those were kind of moments that we got to share together, and were pretty cool.
Randy, where can people find Clipwings music if they want to check out your stuff?
Yeah, if you just probably like any music service, like
Bandcamp?
yeah, Bandcamp. Also, it's on Apple Music, it's on Spotify.
Sweet.
Yeah. So it was our record called Ashford, or EP called Ashford, that Chris produced.
Amazing. That's so cool. Well, okay. So before we go, there's another project that of yours that I want to ask you about. Last night, I watched your movie, Call to Arms, the story of the Royal Albert, a documentary about the legendary CBGBs of Canada, essentially, at 48 Albert Street in Winnipeg. Tell me a little bit about this film. Tell me a little bit about the significance of the Albert in your life.
So yeah, the Albert was pretty much the place where like anyone could play. It was your grungy, kind of dirty, but full of character kind of venue. If you had a band with your buddies, you could play there. It was the place that, if you were into punk or metal or, anything similar, you would definitely go to the Albert. If there was nothing to do, just, you wouldn't even know who's playing. You'll just still go there and you'll see somebody that or you'll end up like hearing a band that become a big fan of or whatever. So it's like long before I made this film or worked on this film, like, there was a whole history of that, the Albert in Winnipeg from like way back, in like 1913 or whenever it was built. But it just kind of found its way to become like this venue, like a rock venue, punk venue, I guess. From And if you could go down the list, there's like bands like Green Day, and I'm drawing a blank right now, but like Sloan has played there, and yeah. Anyways, I'm doing a bad job of the
Tons.
list right now, but there's so many bands. Obviously, Propaganda would have played there with No Effects. Like you name it, and if they were on a tour across Canada, they would have played the Albert. So, just basically right in line. And my band, like way back then, prior to Clipwing, would have played the Albert quite a few times too. So I had that connection of being on stage there and stuff, performing in front of 3 people kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, then the opportunity came up right after I worked on a DVD production for Comeback Kid. Up until that point, I was mainly an editor, and then I got the opportunity to become, the full director, writer. I shot the whole thing all myself, like the whole thing. I, directed, edited, written, shot all by me. So it was my first production that I did all on my own, and yeah, probably spent 13 months on that thing.
Nice.
A lot of beer and sweat and stressful nights, and what should I do here and what should I do there, and yeah, just it was a long process. Because it was my very first film, it'll always be a special one, obviously. But yeah, just it's yeah, I don't know,
I love, yeah, like I love seeing, Damian Abraham from Fucked Up was in the movie.
yeah.
So folks from Sloan were in the movie. Tom from No Means No was in the movie. Chris and Todd from Propagandy. What was the process like for, like landing these interviews and getting people involved that you wanted to comment on the history of the Albert?
Yeah, so like prior to production, it just kind of like all the research that I did, like reading books whenever there was a mention of the Albert. Like Dave Bedini wrote a book called On a Cold Road, where there's a section about the Albert in there. And then just through like different articles and through word of mouth, like who's played here, who's coming here, and then or just sending out like just hundreds of emails, like, I'm doing a film about the Albert, do you have anything to say about it, like, have you ever played there, have you ever been there? So it was just kind of like you just cast such a wide net, and you see who you catch. um Actually, Green Day played in Winnipeg at the MTS Center, or whatever they call it now. I think it was the 21st Century Breakdown tour, and they had the day off prior to their show in Winnipeg, so they got here early. And Mike Dirnt and Trey Cool showed up at the Albert, and like everyone, like there was like the buzz.
Come
It's like
on.
everyone was like, oh, like these guys are gonna, like, it sounds like Green Day is gonna be there. Green Day's roadies have a band, and they want to kind of have a party night or whatever. So yeah, like Mike Dirnt and Trey Cool showed up, and then I just remember, like, I had my camera with me, and I was talking to Mike Dirnt saying, like, I'm making a film with the Albert. Is there any way I can get an interview with you for my film? And while I was talking to him, like by the pool tables, and people that have been there know where those are in the room, the whole time Mike Dirnt's bodyguard was like right in my ear telling me to get the F out of here. I'm gonna kick, I'm
Oh
gonna,
my God.
the whole time Mike Dirnt was just still just talking to me. And then but so anyways, yeah, the bodyguard wasn't having any of it, and I was like, well, if I'm going to get my butt kicked, I might as well do it while I'm trying to get like the biggest interview of my life, kind of thing. It never panned out. I went to the Green Day show the next day, and I was like, I was like, if there's any way, like, obviously all their media requests, and I'm just some little kid, like in a backpack, like it's this indie filmmaker kind of guy. So I'm just trying to do what I can, and it never panned out, but it was just one of those cool things that I never would have been put in that situation if I wasn't making the film. So yeah, just so many memories that were part of that thing. And yeah, just it's pretty wild.
Did you ever get to see Propaganda at the Albert, or was that a little before your time?
Well, they would have played the Albert, like while I was a fan, but I probably didn't go. I know, like, I've seen them at the Pyramid Cabaret. I've seen them at the Windsor. My band actually opened for Propagandy one New Year's Eve, which was a wild evening. I've seen them at yeah, I've seen them quite a few places. I don't think I've seen them at the Albert.
So is there there's been a lot of like changing of hands, I think, of the Albert in the last couple of years. Do you know anything about what's going on with the venue right now? If it's like still active or if it's like restarting after the pandemic or anything?
Last I heard, I think there is something going on. Like there's a new owner involved, and there was some sort of activity going on there. As far as specifics go, I couldn't really speak to that. I know there's been like since it closed, it's reopened a couple times and it's kind of restructured, and there was new gear in there, like new sound gear and different people booking and stuff. So I'm not quite sure where that's at. But the building's still there.
Awesome. Nice. Well, Randy, I have absolutely loved this conversation. We've talked about hockey and filmmaking and music videos. I just love it. Where can people find you if they, want to know more about your work, or if there's a way for people to watch Call to Arms or anything that you want to throw out into the universe for the listeners of Unscripted Moments, a podcast about propaganda?
Probably the easiest way to find me is on Twitter, and it's just at Randy Frykas, RANDYFRYKAS. I'm there. I'm not on Instagram personally, but I'm running my new project is called the Outdoor Hockey Club, and it's a film about outdoor hockey that I'm starting to produce. And I haven't been able to film too much right now, but what I've been doing is I've just been passing out hockey pucks that I've been making to anyone and everyone that wants a puck and just loves outdoor hockey. So you can find that on Instagram at Outdoor Hockey Club. So probably those are the two best ways to find me. You can also find a lot of my stuff on Vimeo, vimeo.com/Randy Frykas, or YouTube /Randy Frykas. So that's where most of my stuff is.
Awesome, Randy. Well, I know that the listeners enjoyed this conversation as much as I enjoyed having it, and I really hope you had a good time. Thank you so much for coming on Unscripted Moments. I've had just an absolute blast hanging out.
Totally, man. This is awesome. I love nerding out, and you're doing a good thing. Keep up the good work. I've heard a lot of good things. A lot of my friends are into your show, and I've just, after doing a quick deep dive through some of your episodes over the past week, it's really cool to see what you're doing, and the fact that you're taking something that you really love to talk about and you're really making a go of it. Like, kudos to you. Folks out there, if you have a passion, you gotta go after it.